Yo, what's up? I'm Oker. Got a 23 Nexus-Point walkthrough here. I'm just going to bring you through each poll, tell you where my head is at, things I'm thinking about, any tech that I'm doing or keeping in mind. I did this run with my team a few days ago. This was our first 23 Nexus-Point timed, and it ended up being pretty clean. I haven't really seen any kind of videos like this with really high keys, so I figured I'd try to do it. Let me know if you want to see more of this type of video, and let's get into it. So here are my talents, and here's the route. Both will be linked below in the description. All my inputs will be in the bottom left of my bars. I'll highlight it with the box right now. If you're ever curious what buttons I'm pressing, you can just take a look down there. So getting started here, the defenders are really the most dangerous thing in this pack, maybe in the whole dungeon. They put a really nasty healing absorb, so you just want to stay ahead of that. With all the packs here, I'm just making sure to get a thrash on every mob to make sure no one rips aggro on pull, because that's a very big problem with bear. And then survival instincts here while I gather, again just to stay ahead of the healing absorb. Then once you get everything grouped here, you just watch out for the puddles on the ground. I got stunned by one, it's not a huge deal. It's generally okay to stand in somebody's circle, like the Mistweaver here. It doesn't do that much damage to you. You mainly just want to avoid the puddles on the floor. Just normal damage rotation here, and slowly kiting it along. Throughout the pull, you just want to kick adepts whenever you can. I set a focus at the beginning of the pull, which makes it much easier. Then you also want to keep an eye on the Arcanist casts. If the AoEs go off, in combination with something else, it will kill someone. So you can either individual interrupt or in-cap roar. And this late into the pull, when there's just batteries and defenders, you can chain in the first pack from pull 2, but we are playing it safe because the timer's pretty lenient. Coming into this pull here, you gather here with survival instincts. I got a lot of healing absorb, so I'm using a frenzied regen. Again, getting thrash and everything, pulling through. And this pack is really scary. So I'm gathering, and then barkskin. And you're fine for the duration of barkskin. Again, watch for stuff on the floor. Get kicks, and then barkskin falls off here. And now you have to be careful. So I had Lunar Beam, which will help defensively. And I'm still maintaining. It's okay with Lunar Beam. I call for Cocoon here, because Lunar Beam's falling off. And I see Bark is going to come up again soon, so I'm just kiting a little bit and use Bark as soon as I get it up. You will get Incarn towards the end of this pull, but we want to save it for pull 3. Just continuing, making sure to keep the mobs in D&D. Kiting forwards. I'm out of Bark now, but I do have Lunar Beam back, so I should be okay. Again, just keeping an eye on those healing absorbs. If I get too many, I'm going to frenzy to regen. Then going into this pull here, we're going to walk forwards. Our monk is going to para, and you can pull through. DH will also cage the defender. Make sure you only moonfire one time. If you do more than one, it'll break the CC on the other mobs. Then you pull here with Barkskin, Lunar Beam, and you can use Incarn here. Everyone in my group marked an Arcanist, and we'll just get individual kicks to interrupt the AoE cast. Not too much going on here, just watch your feet. Once Incarn runs out, you can die to this pack if you don't have any defensives up. So just be mindful, because the melees do hit hard from these mobs. My monk and DH are going to keep an eye on their CCs on the 2 previous mobs. We'll take those into the first boss to have cleave. These die, pull these quickly. My DK is gripping in the caster. Get a thrash on those, and then we go straight into the first boss. So with this boss, firstly be careful on pull, because the defender will get you the healing absorbs, and the boss has melees. Generally with this boss you want to stay in the middle. it's just much easier to get stuck in a situation where it's really awkward on the edges. And if you stay in the middle, you just have way more options. So you see we're just staying around here. Beams are spawning on the sides. Normally those could trap you, but not in this case. Teammates should always try to break 2 lines if they can, but in a certain scenario where you're definitely not going to go towards a different line that might be up, it's okay to break 1, especially if the person that has the line debuff could potentially die. So again, just staying towards the middle here. You have to watch the feet drops. We're running out of space a little bit, so we're just going to move. More feet drops, just trying to move the boss as little as possible. And move to a slightly more open area here. You don't want to move too much, because again, you want to stay as close to the middle as you can generally. So this whole sector that's getting lined off is completely fine. You also can't bait this this big circle. That's kind of a misconception, but it doesn't matter where you are, it just randomly spawns on the ground. So continuing to stay in the middle here. It's worth noting that your pot will come up during this boss. I like to hold my pot for the pull afterwards, because it's much scarier. Additionally, I'll hold Incarn, as it'll probably come up towards the end of this boss. And we're still just staying towards the middle. Watch the puddles that's spawning on the ground. Probably could have gone back to the middle there, but this whole area is open, so it's pretty safe. We also got a single line break there, but it's completely fine because we're not going to go towards those other 2 lines.
3, 2, 1.
And then every time these heal absorbs come out, you should just use Bark Scan and Frenzied Regen. Make it easier. But you shouldn't really be at risk of dying here. Just focus on damage and positioning. Still staying towards the middle. Get 1 final heal absorb. So I'm going to Bark Skin and Frenzied Regen once it comes down.
1.
And then just finish off the boss here. Kind of running out of space, but the boss is low enough to where it doesn't matter. I would advise that one of your teammates clicks the console here so that you don't get stunned. And you can go ahead and pull before everybody else. So this pull is also going to start with 2 defenders. Just try to get through them quickly so they don't get more than 1 set of melees on you. So my monk is going to give me Tiger's Lust. I'm going to run through at max melee range, try to thrash these mobs. I actually missed one of them somehow, so I just had to be careful about that. Then we're going to thrash this pack, come up to these 2 additional ones, Bark Skin, get another thrash. Keep running through, and then you need to range pull these 2 final packs. It's a little sketchy here on aggro, so just be careful. And then we're going to gather everything somewhere along this back wall. Get Incarn rolling quickly here so that you're not worried. And watch your feet for the pools and the Dark Beckoning. All the pulls in this wing of the dungeon before the boss include nullifiers and or void callers, which spawn smudges when they die, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Really the scariest thing in this wing of the dungeon is this null-work blast. You need to be careful of the initial hit as well as the dot as it continues. You're fine for this pull as long as you have Incarn up, but towards the end you might want to use a Bark Skin for the second null-work blast. I didn't in this case because I thought I could live, And I did. But you need to be very careful as the dot hits super hard. So I end up getting a third Nullwork Blast here, which is not ideal. And I don't want to use Barkskin so that I can have it on pull for the next pack. So I'm just going to Frenzied Regen and ask my healer to individual heal me. Generally, you want the Null Sentinel to be the main target that you cleave off of on the pulls that have them. So we're going to pull this pack on the right. I actually Barkskin late. I almost died. But get a Thrash on all those, and then pull the Herald from ranged, and bring in the pack with the Null Sentinel. We pull the Herald from range from that because it makes the leech go on you, and it's much easier for you to deal with than someone else on your team. My Bark runs out here as Nullwork Blast goes off, so I Survival Instincts that. Make sure they're grouped before the Dark Beckoning cast starts because that Herald will stop moving. And then I pull in this final pack late once my team tells me they have damage cooldowns. I didn't have Barkskin when they came in, and I didn't have anything rolling, so I used the Survival Instincts. I have another Nullwork Blast coming out there, but we have Incarn rolling, the whole pack is going, so it's pretty safe. We got a Rot for the Smudges, and just watch your feet off for the Dark Beckoning. You can help out with Smudges by either Vortexing on the pack, or running ahead of the Smudges and Typhooning them away from the Dread Flail that they're running towards. I got another Nullwork Blast here, which is not ideal, because we did not target that mob, but definitely make sure you do that. Just finishing out this pack here. Both of the nullifiers are going to spawn Smudges again, so just don't forget to prioritize those. I'm Typhooning away, and this one nullifier is still very healthy and is going to still smudge after it dies, so kind of a decent time loss here. Just getting that low and then I can continue. The safest way to pull these here is just walking around and getting the Scroungers by themselves. My teammates were still in aggro from the smudge, so it jumped to them. Just make sure you get Thrash on these. You want to start the RP on the right room, and then you can bring the Dread Flail in with Barkskin. Some cool tech on this pack here is if you kill the Grand Nullifiers first, it will actually engage the next wave of boss trash to pull, even if every other mob is still alive. So we're going to focus down the nullifiers here, and it'll really speed up this whole sequence. This is our first Dread Flail of the dungeon, and our first Lingering Image of the dungeon. The Lingering Images have a Tank Buster. It just got casted on me right there. The actual Tank Buster itself is not that bad. The dot hurts though. And then the Dread Flail has this frontal that it's doing on me right now. It casts a buff on itself that make its melees into frontal cones that will kill your teammates if you're pointing it at them. For each trash wave before this boss, you have to be super careful about aggro. I was kind of running around here because of this Flail Storm, but ideally you want to stay planted, thrash anything that's nearby, and Moonfire everything else that's coming in, using Taunt whenever you need to. Your group should be very careful about touching mobs before they're all gathered. This Dread Flail and Lingering Image are getting finished off here, and all we have to worry about are the Heralds and any random melees from the Scroungers. But this pull is pretty safe. Keep looking out for Dark Beckoning, watch your feet, and then just finish this off. So I'm just going to choose a spot here, thrash what comes near me, and Moonfire everything else, and taunt whenever I need to. This pack has a Nullwork Blast, So I bark skinned on pull, and I will have some of that for the duration that I'll work blast. I can get through the rest of it with frenzied regen. I am going to hold Incarn here to make sure I have it for the first burn phase of the boss. And really the only thing to worry about here is the null work blasts. So we have another one here. Just going to bark again. Decurse myself. And finish off the pull. You'll note that throughout these pulls, the Scroungers cast a shield on mobs around them. Those can be removed by any hard CC, so you can in-cat roar when you have it. We will get one more null blast here, but I'll just frenzied regen through it, and the dot will come off as soon as the mob dies. I'm then going to gather these Scroungers. Just make sure you have a stack of iron for up. I frenzied regen to be safe as well, because initially they can hit you pretty hard when you pull them. Then I'm just getting good aggro, and we go straight into first boss. Something that makes this boss way, way, way easier is if your monk can cocoon you for the first tank buster in each set. Their cooldowns should align so that they have it just in time for each one. And it just allows you much more flexibility in terms of defensives. Generally, I'm going to bark skin the second one, and we're going to watch out for aggro, trying to moonfire, taunt, thrash, get everything in. It's critical that you stay in the same spot of the boss, because the Dreadflail will do the same frontal as before, and if it's pointed towards anybody in your group, it will one-shot them. Then as soon as the Dreadflail dies, you're safe to go into the Light Scar Flare, pop all your cooldowns, your pot, whatever you have, try to burst the boss down. My pot cooldown was a little weird here, so I didn't have it for the burn, but usually you're going to have it for the first burn. Got a cocoon there again for the first tank buster, and we just continue here. Mobs are going to spawn again. Usually I'm tanking the boss on where the first set of mobs is going to spawn. I was greedy there and I didn't bark skin. I was holding it later. But we're right on top of this Dreadflail. I'm going to thrash it, and then Moonfire and taunt the farther away mobs. Once again, we're pointing the boss in one direction that we know is safe. Positioning can get a little weird because the tank buster does also knock you back. But we are not going to go into the flare before the Dreadflail dies. You always have to wait for it to die. So it dies, and then we're going to go into the flare and use whatever damage we have. I like to reset the boss more towards the middle of the room after each burn phase. So we had a litany during that burn phase, and I didn't need a cocoon because I had a full health shield from the litany. And the reason for that is damage amps also amplify the shield that litany gives. So I had cocoon for the second tank buster here. This should be the last burn, so I shouldn't need a cocoon for the next set of tank busters. And that means I can hold on to bark for later on. Again, gonna thrash the close mobs, get moonfire on the far mobs, and point everything in the same direction away from the boss. We are watching the Dreadflail. It's very far away. You can Typhoon the Dreadflail if it's going into your group, so feel free to help them. It's so far away, I was safe going into the flare. And then the boss dies. I messed up this movement tech here. If you just wild charge straight up the middle on that ridge there, you can just run up it and you don't have to go around. I also just kind of panic pressed Incarn there. Don't do that. We absolutely want to have Incarn for the next pull. And I just wasted like 10 seconds of the uptime. On this console, it charges faster if everybody spam clicks it. So I'm going to mark an Arcanist, go into bear form here and pull. I forgot to press bark skin and I almost died. My monk cocooned me, fortunately. We're going to wait for the first tank buster, which just happened. I'm going to get aggro on this flare bat that my monk pulled in, and then we're going to pull the second pack. It's very important that you stagger pulling these packs, because you do not want to get 2 tank busters lined up. If you have 4 stacks of the bleed, it does a ton of damage to you. So again, I didn't have Incarn here, so I'm just kind of stretching with Survival Instincts, Lunar Beam, Frenzied Regen, really anything I can to get through this pack. Bark is going to be coming up again here. I have Lunar Beam as well, so now I'm pretty safe. I have a Tank Buster coming up. Make sure you don't stand in the things that it places on the floor when the Tank Buster goes off. And then, of course, watch out for the big frontal cone that the Lingering Images casts. If you get hit by the frontal cone, you'll get blinded and you lose aggro on everything. And it'll kill your whole team. Also, I asked for Cocoon on that Tank Buster because I didn't want to use Survival Instincts. Ideally, you chain into the second Lingering Image faster there. You'll note I did get 4 stacks at one point, but I had defensive, so it was okay. So we're going to do a skip here. Everybody's going to gather on the left, and then I am going to roar, pull the mob away, and then Warrenstone and meld. And then you can just walk forwards, pull the flare bat on the side here. It's a pretty easy skip. There's no tight timing or anything. Do not kick that light rot from ranged. You will get stuck in the floor and fall under the map and die, and it'll be very annoying. So, like the last pull, I pull this image in, get the tank buster, and then I pull the second image in. And we just fight these for a little while. You do not want to get 4 stacks at a time. It's important that your DPS split damage evenly between these images, because these 2 lingering images are what trigger the boss spawning. So if one dies way before the other, it's much slower. You want them to die at about the same time and spawn the boss as fast as possible. So as soon as these images die, I'm going to go ahead and pull the boss.
1.
Positioning at the beginning here is pretty important. All the trash packs are still up on the platform here, and you don't want to give anybody the opportunity even to get knocked or whatever and pull one of those trash packs. So we're just going to go along kind of the edge of this platform here, working backwards towards the first trash pack that we're going to pull.
3, 2.
The whole idea with this boss fight is you play mobs in between each intermission. It's critical that whatever you pull dies before the next intermission starts. So at the beginning here, we just had that one light rot. We're slowly going around the edge. You can stack the puddles from the dot, and you won't take any additional damage. On the intermission here, you can completely game the duplicate thing. If you moonfire at the very end of the boss's cast, the moon will follow onto the correct ad for you to interrupt. So you just need to watch the top of their frames. So we get the tank buster, and then I bark and go into the first trash pack here. I have CDs, so we're going to use, and all this stuff should die. Your DPS just needs to be careful of the swarms, and make sure that your DH dispels the buff off of the bats. Otherwise, it will put a pool on the floor that heals everything, including the boss, for 10% HP, and you don't want that to happen. So we're just going to go around here, being sure to give your DPS healer everybody enough room to move around the images that are spawned. You don't want to get stuck in like a hole or a gap in between them that doesn't allow you to move out. So we're just going to some free space, and we get the intermission here. And just watch the top of the boss's head. The moon from my moonfire will travel with the boss, and it'll show you which image is the right one. So we don't have CDs here. If you aggro the swarms on the left, it is tied to the flare bat. So you'll get only half of that pack. So I pulled the swarm, got the flare bat, and we're going to play that with the boss here. Our DH died to a swarm, so we'll just B-res him. We also played this slower than normal because the timer was so good, and we just want to time the key, play it safe. You can speed up some of these intermission pulls if you're, really tight for time. You just, again, have to make sure that whatever you have, especially a caster, dies before intermission happens. So watch the moon on top of its head. You can see it go to that close boss image.
2, 1.
Then we're going to pull in this following pack and the swarms along with it. Make sure you get the swarms. You can help out with swarms by vortexing on the boss. It'll pull them back one time, so it's a little bit less of a threat for your DPS players. This boss isn't super difficult to tank, health-wise. It's just easy to get kind of caught off guard because his melees can hit pretty hard, and you are just constantly hit with dots. So you have the dot from the tank buster, and then also the dot from these pools. Both do a decent amount of damage to you, and if you have nothing rolling and get meleeed on top of both, then you can absolutely die. So once again, we're going to wait till below 1 second, we're going to moonfire, and then look out for the moon that spawns on the boss's head, and that'll tell us exactly where he is. The final pull here, we're going to play both casters, but with Lust. So we hold Lust until the final thing. However, we have tons of time. My team is communicating to me that they don't have all their cooldowns in pot, so we're just going to wait a whole intermission phase. We're not necessarily in a rush, we just want to time the key. So we're going to ensure that everything dies before intermission happens, and we have everything for Lust. Just playing this super safe. Get the bombs out. And give everybody ample space to run around. Should be final intermission here. Again, just moonfire, and then look out for the moon on top of the head. Our DH is doing the snowball trick, where you can cast a snowball and it'll follow to the image, but both work. So we're just going to wait for the dot here. Once we get the dot and the pools are out, we're going to go ahead and pull the Lust pool. So I get first kick, make sure you have bark skin up, and then we Lust, Incarn, pop everything.
3, 2, 1.
And the team just needs to be on top of kicks here. So you should assign a first and second to left and right. But these die fairly quickly with Lust and cooldowns. And then you just finish it out. So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is actually my first season tanking, and I hope to be more of a mainstay going forwards. I know this video is kind of late in the season, but I figured I'd post it anyways. But let me know if you want to see more videos like this, or any other kinds of content. Peace.